Hey guys, I'm Tiffany with the Nerdettes, and I'm coming to you by myself today, just because, of course, Erica doesn't watch Game of Thrones. She's only seen one episode, so she's wanting to catch up a little bit before she kind of goes into it with you guys. So I'm by myself, and obviously in kind of some themed garb to go along with the video, just to talk a little bit about Stormborn, and just kind of talking about how amazing this episode was. It really just started off really powerful, of course. When we left off, Daenerys is just arriving, and she's at the gates of Dragonstone and ready to, take her throne and meet the people that are ready to kind of proclaim her as queen. And she walks in, and it's an empty castle, deserted, kind of dusty. You see her kind of scanning through, and just it's mildew and cobwebs and kind of like that, hasn't been touched in forever kind of vibe. Kind of creepy. So there's no one there. She gets to the main table with where the map of Westeros is, and it's dusty, and you see her put her hand across it, and it's kind of sad, and she's very solemn with it. But yeah, for her, this is supposed to be her big moment. So we get to see her kind of take that throne where her father once sat, and kind of contemplate what it's going to be like to take the Iron Throne eventually. So then, just to I'm going to go around the episode a little bit, so forgive me, because, hit on different things as, they come to me. But, so Varys, when he shows up, of course he's suspicious to her, because he's the master of whisperers, and she knows what happened with Stannis, and just who he's worked with in the past, so she's not really sure if she can trust him. The Red Woman's there, Melisandre. She basically tells Daenerys that she has a role to play, and she encourages her to seek out Jon Snow, and she said that he has a role to play as well, and he definitely does. I feel like he is the King of the North for a reason, and obviously he doesn't know yet, but he's a Targaryen, so the two of them coming together will be more powerful in more ways than one. And of course, Tyrion supports the idea of Jon Snow as an ally, considering his influence, and just knowing what he knows, having worked with him when he visited the Wall. So he definitely encourages her to, send word to him. And of course, her being Daenerys is like, yes, I will send word to him, and he will bend a knee, So we'll see how that works out. Talking about Jon, of course, we see him with Sansa, and of course he observes her with Littlefinger, and kind of does that kind of brotherly warning that all big brothers do, I'm sure. If you ever mess with her, I will kill you. You need to leave her alone. Littlefinger doesn't seem too surprised, but yet at the same time he's like, oh, okay, so. But yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the Greyjoys at the end, considering how big that part plays in this episode. But another thing, we see Sam with the Archmaester looking at Jorah, and he's covered in grayscale. He's, it's literally over a great majority of his body. I'd say about 3/4 at least. And basically, the Archmaester says there's no way to cure it. He's eventually going to turn into this thing. They don't know how long. He has very little time, maybe a few weeks, if that, to be himself before his sanity goes. So he's kind of accepted it at this point. And Sam, because of him being a Tarly and the way he was raised, he wants to save Jorah. So, he knows that there's a way to cure it that has been tried and tested and proved, but you know, the person who last did it also got grayscale. So it's a little scary, very, very tricky to get right. It's like, you know, it could be detrimental to him if he were to actually get grayscale. So I'm not really sure how that's going to play out. So, but Sam seems very determined, and I feel like if anyone can do it and do it right, it's going to be him. Of course, it's Sam. So, but yeah, it goes from, oh, that scene, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about, where he's peeling, because the way to treat this is to rip the layer off the top of the infection and to put like this salve, this ointment on it, and he is like chiseling basically at this while Jorah bites down on like a leather strap or something and like chisels at it, rips it from his flesh, and oh gosh, it is, I was like this, you guys, for real. I was covering my face, like slightly peeking out because I could not, oh gosh. And of course, them being the great, you know, directors and videographers that they are, they cut straight to this man eating a meat pie. So, wow, that was kind of a weird, he's like chomping at it too, so it's of course appropriate. So chiseling like grayscale to a pie. Ugh. So that was disturbing. I mean, and going back to Daenerys and at the table, you know, you see like this powerful scene where it's her and Tyrion and Yara and Theon and Ilaria and the Sand Snakes, and that all of them with Varys and Grey Worm, and just kind of that representation from these different, you know, people to kind of talk about how they're going to conquer. And obviously first they know that they need to focus on the Lannisters. And Tyrion feels like, of course, he knows Jaime, he knows Cersei, he knows how they operate. So he says that their first course of action needs to be to take Casterly Rock, which is their home, their foundation of who the Lannisters are. So he suggests that while, you know, some of them kind of focus on, you know, while Daenerys focuses on meeting with Jon Snow, that the Unsullied should go to Casterly Rock and take it, and that should be like their thing, while Yara and the Sand Snakes go to sea, and just kind of see how that will go to, yeah. I guess it's good to go ahead and talk about that, because when they go to sea, they see Euron, and that like they're sailing through, ready to go to war, and they run into Euron, and of course he has this massive fleet, and he attacks Yara and Theon and the Sand Snakes, who are together at this point, and basically lays siege to all the ships, kills all the men and soldiers that they have, and him and the Ironborn essentially, you know, he seems to capture Yara and is ready to cut her throat. And you see right before this happens, it's kind of ironic because Yara is about to get with Ilaria. Of course that happens, and you know, Theon's just like, this is nothing, I see this all the time. And Yara's like, you know, can't help it, it just happens. But so we unfortunately see Yara get taken, knife against her throat, and Euron like is antagonizing Theon, like save her, grow some balls basically, and come after her, and he kind of regresses back into Reek, you know. I mean, yes, what Ramsay did to him was horrible, and, you know, put him in a very just weird state of mind where he's not fully, he'll never be back where he was before, and he'll never be like that same warrior or that same person. But he turns his back on his sister and just jumps into the ocean or the sea, and you know, she, of course you can see the disappointment there, and there's like that moment where she's, you know, begging him with her face just to please this once stand up for her like she has done for him and be there for her. And he becomes that coward yet again and regresses, becomes Reek, and twitches and just jumps off the boat. So it's kind of sad. You know, they kind of, that whatever bond they have, I feel like now that's not gonna ever be there ever again. You know, he got that second chance and kind of blew it. So one other thing I wanted to touch on with this episode is the scene where obviously Arya hears talk from Hot Pie when she visits him, that he, you know, he's at this bakery, he still makes these amazing pies, Hot Pie, hello, and she finds out that Jon is the king in the north and has taken it back, and she's startled to hear this. She has no idea, and her plans for revenge against Cersei are kind of halted, thankfully. You know, and she decides that she's gonna turn around, and she has like this moment where she's like, do I, you know, she has two paths. Do I go to the, you know, see Cersei, or do I go to see Jon Snow and kind of get back to that? So she decides to go back to where Jon Snow is. So I was kind of proud of that. I think that kind of tells where she's been at through this journey, that she's ready to go back there. And she comes across Nymeria in the woods, and at first I didn't even recognize her. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a huge wolf. And then I was like, wait a minute, that looks like it is. She, I mean, they have this moment where she thinks that they're gonna, you know, rip her to shreds and her horse, and realizes that it's this huge wolf is Nymeria, who she had such a strong bond with, and who she ran off when she was afraid of getting captured by the Lannister soldiers. You know, she threw a rock at her and she scurried away, and she hasn't seen her since then, you know, since she basically saved her. And now here she is, kind of like the leader of this pack of wild wolves. She's like this leader almost of them, it seems. And Arya begs Nymeria, she's like, hey, I'm going back to Winterfell, you know, I'm going back, you know, you'll have food, you'll have me, you'll have this bond we had. And Nymeria chooses to go with the pack and go back to the woods, and, you know, decides to just take that instead and not go back to Winterfell. And at first Arya is very disappointed, but you start to see that she realizes that, you know, she's very much like Arya. I mean, she does her own thing. She, you know, forges her own path. So it's very kind of, you know, bittersweet, but, you know, I think Arya respects that, you know. So, but yeah, this is a very strong episode. We know that Jon Snow is about to meet Daenerys, obviously, at this point, because he tells, you know, he has this very big debate with the wardens and the crows, to talk to them and to the families and tell them, look, we need allies for the long winter, the long night that's coming. We need to band together and get more people, more soldiers, more defenses to fight against the White Walkers and the Night King. And so he decides, against everybody's protests, including Sansa's, that he's going to go to the north, or he's going to leave the north rather, and go to meet Daenerys and see at least if he can get Dragonstone, which Sam, as we know, told him is there, a mountain of it under where she is ruling currently, and also to see if she'll help him, if her and perhaps the Unsullied and the cows will help her, and help them really to defeat this huge, greater enemy than any of them can even perceive at this point. So, you know, he leaves Sansa in charge, which Sansa's a little surprised by, but he tells her, you're the only Stark in Winterfell. You know, not me, not anyone else, you. So she is going to be the person that kind of watches over everything while he leaves. So he, we know this is going to happen. Super excited to see how that goes. And yeah, so that was Stormborn. And yeah, but anyway, I'm Tiffany with the Nerdettes. Again, more videos coming up. We just subscribed to Owl Crate, and if you don't know what that is, it's like literature and book-based kind of a crate that comes monthly, a subscription that has books. I saw like previous month they had a Divergent bath bomb, candles that are literature based, and anybody that knows me knows I love books. So we've got that. We've got Skosh Box, and we'll be having an unboxing of that, which is Japanese sweets and snacks and drinks. And we'll be doing that with our very special guest, Evie Galore, live when we receive that subscription in the mail. We're going to have so much cool content for you guys. So stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe, please. And like, and remember to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/thenerdettes. We love you guys and appreciate you so much and hope to see you more. So again, I'm Tiffany, and bye.